Just check. This is your one and only FireSpark81 with your daily dose of video goodness, and welcome to Valheim. So this game does not hold your hand and leaves a lot to you to figure out. So today we're just going to cover some general tips in no specific order for beginners, just to kind of help fill in a lot of the gaps that the game leaves for you. Let's get to it. So relatively early on, the game will tell you to craft a workbench. What it doesn't tell you after you craft said workbench is you can't really do too much with it. It tells you that it needs a roof, but it does allow you to build a bunch of stuff around it. So it will give you the options to go into buildings here, and you can build around it. Now what you're going to want to do is start to build a house. Don't do that. Simply place down your crafting station like I have done here, and then you are going to build a small lean-to around it like you see here. All you need is 4 walls and 2 of the low roofs. So 4 of these here, 2 of these here, and then 2 of these here. Once you've done that, you can use your workbench to its full capability. So if you look here, I can now use my workbench. So what this is going to allow you to do is quickly repair all of your tools. It goes into another tip. Repairing costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to repair. You just need a workbench, and you go up to it, you just spam repair until everything is repaired. It's going to allow you to repair your axe early game, because you're going to need to farm a bunch of wood to build your house, and in most cases, if you don't have a setup like this, you're not going to be able to repair your axe, and you're probably going to just try to make another one. But if you build a small setup like this, you can repair your axe, and on top of that, you will be able to craft a hoe, which is super helpful because that's going to allow you to level the ground for your house, as I've done up here. So once you have the hoe equipped, you just right click, it brings up a menu just like the building hammer does. You select level ground, and then you can just spam out level ground to level out the area that you want to build your house. Once you have your workbench and this little setup done like you see here, if you have your building hammer equipped, you can see that there's a small line going around the area here. This is the area in which your workbench has an effect. So you can see here it goes all the way around the workbench. Now you're like, FireSpark, well what if the area where I built my little lean-to is a little too close to where I decided to build my house? That's fine. There's nothing that says you can't have more workbenches all over the place. So if you build your little setup here and then you decide, well, I want my house to be over here, so over here is where I'm going to level off my ground, you can see here I have the same circle. So you can just slap down another workbench, start to level off the ground, then start to place your flooring, build your house, and then you can come back over to where your other setup is, your little temporary setup here, and just take everything down by hitting the middle mouse button, and you will break whatever wall you've placed. So if I place the wall there, click my middle mouse button, you can see it instantly shatters, and I get wood back. Doing this will streamline the beginning of the game and building process and making your home and everything so much for you that you'll thank me later. Also, early game, when you need wood and you're trying to craft your first axe, you don't have to pick up the branches. You're going to see branches on the ground. You're going to be tempted to just run around and pick up those branches. It's going to feel more natural to you because you're doing that with the stones as well. You can actually punch these small trees. Doing this will level up your unarmed combat and make it easy for you to get some wood right from the beginning of the game, so you're not running around hunting the branches that are on the ground. There's a lot of different skills in the game, and in order to level up said skills, you actually have to hit something. So if I just slash this knife in the air like this, nothing happens. I won't get any experience from it. If I hit tab to bring up my skills here, and we take a look at my axes, for example, so you can see I'm really close to leveling with axes. So if I take and equip an axe right now and I swing it around, you should see that little bit move there. So if we just swing it for a minute, it should go up if it was leveling, but it won't. So if we take a look, it hasn't moved at all. However, if I just beat on something, and it doesn't have to be something that actually takes damage, like this stone here. This stone takes no damage, but I'm actually hitting something, and you can see my skill with axes just improved. And if I continue to hit this, it will continue to go up because I'm actually hitting something. Now, the tool is losing durability. I'm not sure if it's actually connecting with something that causes this skill to go up, or if it's the loss of durability on the tool that causes your skill to go up. But either way, you can just train on a rock. Just find a rock that you can't break, which will be most of them, because the only thing that can break them is pickaxe and pickaxes. So all of these stone tools, or even your fists, if we unequip that, I can just sit here and punch this rock, and I can train unarmed combat as well. Leads us into how your skills go up. Your skills go up just by using them. So for example, jumping, all I have to do to level up my jumping skill is just jump in place. Or sprinting, I just sprint. Sneaking, from what I can tell, you have to sneak near something, so you hit control to go into crouch like this, and now I'm sneaking. But I did this for a while around nothing, and it wouldn't go up, but I did it next to something, so like find a deer or a boar or anything. I like using deer, and you can just sneak right up near them and around them, and your sneaking skill will increase. The next tip is pay attention to your weapons, because certain things slow your movement by different amounts. As you see here, equipping this shield slows my speed by 5%. Equipping this hammer slows my movement speed by 20%. The bow, 5%. The knife doesn't slow my speed at all. So make sure you're paying attention to the stats of your weapons, and don't just run around with something in your hand that may slow your speed. So for example, if I equip the axe and the shield, which the shield is 5% and the axe is 5%, I'm getting a total of 10% movement speed reduction. So I'm not moving across the map as fast as I could if I just unequipped everything. Which leads us to unequipping everything. You can unequip everything quick and easy just by hitting R. You throw it on your back like that, and then what's cool is you can hit R again really quick just to bring that back. So if I'm just want to run really quick across the map and I want to be ready to fight and I don't want to reach up and hit 2 and 3, I can just hit R and bam, I'm ready to go. Early game, you're going to want to eat more than just the measly little berries that you're picking up from the berry bushes, and you're going to see deer. And you may not be able to craft a bow right from the get-go, but that's fine. Craft a knife, go into sneak mode, and you can farm deer really easy like this. So you just slowly walk up to the deer, make sure you're at a distance before you start sneaking, because they can see you pretty far away. You will run out of stamina as you're sneaking, but that is fine. It's no big deal, because if you just stop moving for a hot second, you will regain your stamina. So now all we have to do is slowly sneak up behind the deer, because the knife does a ton of backstab damage. And bam, there we go. One hit kill. And you can see his buddies didn't even know, and that little guy over there didn't even notice. So now I can just go over here to the other deer. And that guy spooked my deer. We still got a deer over here that did not get spooked, because we were sneaking the whole time. So we can just come up here to the deer like this. And once again, bam, there you go. So that's a really easy way early game, before you get a bow, to get a hold of deer and get a hold of the meat chunks here, as well as deer hide. That's going to lead us into talking about food. So in order to cook your food, you're going to need a campfire, and then you come over here to crafting, and you need a cooking station. Then you just place the cooking station over your campfire, as you see that I have done there. And then when you walk up to it, depending on what you're looking at, if you're looking at the cooking station or the campfire, you're going to get two different prompts. So if I look at the fire, you can see it wants me to put wood in there. I can hit E to stoke the fire and add more fuel to it, because it will eventually burn out. You can see it's got 2 of 10. Don't worry, it does burn for a really long time, but it will eventually run out. If I look at the cooking station, all I have to do is hit E to put the meat on there. Now, if I want to cook something specific, all I have to do is drag it up to my hotbar, because you can see it says hit 1 through 8, and then I can just hit 7 on my hotbar right now, and I would cook that specific thing if I didn't just want to cook whatever's in my inventory. Now, next you want to listen very carefully for the little sizzle, because you only have 2 stages. It goes from that right there now, which is cooked. So it had raw to cooked, and if I leave it on there any longer, it's going to sizzle again, and when it does that, it will go to charcoal. So early game, before you get the recipe to create the charcoal kiln, which takes the Surtling cores, I guess that's how you pronounce that. Burning food, because you end up with more meat than you know what to do with at some point, into charcoal is a really good way to get charcoal before you make the charcoal kiln. So then that leads us into talking about the different effects on food. You can see right now I don't have any food, like I don't have anything over here in my little bar. I have 25 hit points and I have a super low stamina bar with only 3 chunks in it. If we take a look at my inventory, I got a bunch of different food here. So I have the grilled necktail, which provides 35 health and 20 stamina. It lasts for 1,000 seconds. It also provides 2 HP per tick. If we take a look at the cooked meat, it gives me 40 health, 30 stamina, lasts 1,200 seconds, and provides with 2 HP per tick. If we take a look at the mushrooms, they provide 15 health, 20 stamina, and they last 600 seconds and provide 1 HP per tick. Now, all of this stacks in this little bar here. So a really good combo early game in order to get a ton of stamina and health is to eat 1 necktail, eat 1 cooked meat, and then eat 1 mushroom, because you can see the mushroom provides 15 health, 20 stamina. The raspberries only provide 10 health, 20 stamina, and only 1 HP per tick. You can see now we have a much larger health bar, and if I sprint, a much larger stamina bar. This is a really good combo if you're going out adventuring. If you're not going out adventuring, I advise to save the necktail, eat 1 cooked meat, eat 1 mushroom and 1 raspberry. Later on, you'll get the ability to cook more complex foods like this Queen's Jam. You can see that it provides a bonus of 30 health, 40 stamina, lasts for 1,200 seconds, and gives me 2 HP per tick. There's also bees in the game. You will find beehives on the side of old decrepit houses that are falling apart, and then you can make a beehive, and you can harvest the beehive for honey. Honey's really great because it provides you 5 HP per tick. You can see it only gives you 20 health, 20 stamina, only lasts for a measly 300 seconds, but it gives you 5 HP per tick, which will stack with the 2 HP per tick that you're getting from a grilled tail or cooked meat. That leads us into talking about the rested buff. So when you're inside shelter, as you see here, and once I'm no longer wet, I will start getting the rested buff. If we click the compendium up here, you can see my active effects. So it says rested right here. You can see now it just popped up on the screen that I am now resting, and you can see up there at the top it shows that I'm resting. After a period of time of being in some type of comfort and having that rested buff, I currently have comfort of 6 in my house, and we'll talk about how to get that up here in a second. I will start resting, and you can see that having the rested buff gives you plus 50 to health regen and plus 100% to stamina regen, so it doubles your stamina regen. And after a period of time of resting, you can see that my rested buff is now not ticking down. Once you are rested for a period of time and that kicks into effect, during a resting period, it will hang out there until you stop resting. So now if I go outside and I start to do stuff, you can see that will start to tick down. Now there's a few different ways you can go about resting, and there's a few different ways that you can get that comfort level to go up. So having a bed in your house will provide comfort level. Putting stuff in your house like this deerskin rug or this stool over here will increase your overall comfort level in your house. So you can see once I'm in my house and I'm close by to my bed and all my different things here, I start resting. Now, if I'm just in my sheltered area, I'm not, because what triggers this whole resting thing is also being next to a campfire. So you gotta have a campfire or some type of fire. Then you gotta have the amenities around said campfire. So you can see in close proximity to the campfire, I have my bed, I have the deerskin rug, and I have this little stool over here. All of these things combined give me the comfort level of 6, but you don't need that. You can just place a campfire and set beside of it. This resting buff is super valuable when you are out running around and makes a huge difference in your stamina and health regen and how easy the game is when you're out and about adventuring. It's really easy to get the buff anywhere you're at. Now, it won't be for as long as the duration that you get when you are back at your house, because the comfort level won't be as high, but you can get it for 8 minutes at a time when you're out running around. simply by placing down a campfire. So be sure to keep 5 stone on you and 2 wood at all times so you can easily just place down a campfire when you're out and about. So all we have to do when we're out and about, we'll just pretend that, oh no, my resting buff has ran out. So I place a campfire like that, and then we'll just unequip our hammer. We'll get close to the campfire so that we have the little campfire buff. Now all we have to do is hit X on our keyboard to set down. And then after a second, it'll pop up there that we're getting the resting buff. Now we only have a comfort of 1, and that's fine. Like I said, that'll refresh the buff for 8 minutes. So we just hang out here for a hot second, and you'll see that the rested timer will eventually go up to 8 minutes and then freeze there. And there we go, it just popped. It's at 8 minutes. We are now rested. So all we have to do now is just get up, click on our hammer, and then break down our fire. We will get our 5 stones back, and we can get wood super easy anywhere that we're at, pretty much on the map, and then we're good to go. Now we're rested for another 8 minutes. You will also get this buff if you are in your house and you sleep. When you sleep, you should wake up with a full rested buff. So when you're building your house, you may be tempted to use some of these floor pieces as your roofing. Do not do that. You can see here I have done that, but then I ended up capping it with the actual roof pieces. That is because if you do that, you will not get the shelter buff. If you take a look here, I just made a little tiny lean-to thing. If we walk in here and we shut the door, you can see I currently have the sheltered buff. If I equip my hammer and I delete the ceiling there, you can see that the buff went away. Now, if I grab one of the floor pieces and I put it up there, you can see now I'm not getting the sheltered buff. And that is because it doesn't register these wood floor pieces as a roof. They're not a roof. You gotta use the thatch roof as your roof. So if it says it's a roof piece, it will count. Don't be afraid to destroy your build when you're building. If you take a look here, this wood floor piece costs me 2 wood to place it down. If I place it down and I decide I don't like it, I just break it and then I walk up to it and I get 2 wood back. So with the wood pieces, I can't speak for later game stuff. I haven't made it there yet, but with the wood pieces, you should get back all of the resources that you spent to place it down when you break it. Let's talk about the map. First off, your mini-map up there. You can zoom in and out of your mini-map with the less than, greater than keys. So you can see I can zoom in, I can zoom out. You can also see I have a bunch of markers there. You can place markers anywhere on your map and you can give them names. So you select which symbol you want over here, pick whatever symbol you want just by clicking on it, and then just double click on your map. And then you can see it pops up a text box down there for me to give it a name. I don't have to give it a name at this point. I can just hit the escape key and back out and it doesn't get a name. If I want to remove that, I just right click on it and it's gone. We can go back, we can give it a name, hit enter, and then it shows up like all of these other ones do that I have on the map. If I want to get rid of it, just right click and it's gone. You can see down here it says visible to other players. If you're playing with friends, just click this and it will make you visible on the map to your friends. Now, keep in mind that if you're playing on a server where there's PvP, you may not want to do this because this shows you to everyone, not just your friends. But if you're playing co-op with a buddy and you want them to see where you're at and you want to see where they're at, you both can just come in here and click that and there you go. Now, keep in mind that if you are playing on a server and you are playing PvP, you can turn PvP on or off at any time. So if you do show where you're at, I still don't recommend doing it for PvP because you could get griefed, but you cannot take damage from other players unless you enable PvP. So you can see right here, it says take damage from other players, and then we click that, PvP is enabled. You can see it's enabled because I have the 2 swords crossing. We click it again, and then PvP damage is disabled. When you have PvP disabled and you're playing co-op with a buddy, you can see that it gives me something there called core wood. So if we highlight over here, core wood, perfect for building log cabins. That's true, it's going to get you a bunch of different recipes, one of which is the recipe for this stag breaker hammer. This thing is super good for when you're fighting a bunch. Look at the pine trees, they're really tall. Forest, you can see, forest is a pine tree. Have fir trees, but what you want to look for in this forest is look here, we got beech trees. Be careful. This place, however, is super handy, and this is a dangerous place. Buddy, you both can actually beat the crap out of each other with weapons and train said weapons without actually